Warning, this podcast contains spoilers for the Dark Knight trilogy. Happy birthday, Batman. You are 75 years old.
That's pretty old.
It's pretty old. That's
if you kind
awesome,
of think
though.
about that, I mean, wow.
I mean, last year we were we weren't celebrating, but I was celebrating alone in my apartment Superman's 75th anniversary. I mean, like, that Batman happened right on the heels of Superman. It didn't happen too much longer. It was like about a year.
Yeah.
And so I figured we could just take some time. Let's talk about Batman. Like, Batman, you probably all know, when I say you all, I mean Joe and Luke. No, Superman's my favorite hero. He's been for a while, but originally Batman was my favorite hero. I grew up obsessed with Batman. He was my favorite superhero for the longest time. And right now he's a close second. Like, I love Batman. And what are you guys' like first memories with Batman, like around like TV or movie or game?
I think Game Boy game, the Batman one. I forget. It was like in the '90s. That was my first experience with Batman. That and the cartoon, and I liked Batman more than Superman, and I still do, because I like the '89, '90s movies more than I like the Superman movies. Because when I was growing up and a kid, I thought those movies were awesome, and they have a soft spot in my heart because I grew up watching them. But looking back on them, they were kind of garbage for the most part. I mean, the first one was good, and then it kind of went downhill from that. So I watched the cartoon first on TV Saturday mornings, played the Game Boy game, and then when I was
All at
about
the same time?
Which cartoon?
I think it was the first series.
The animated series? Yeah.
Yeah,
Like
And,
a lot of us.
right. And I actually have the animated series on DVD, so
I don't have that, so I'm jealous.
I can watch it whenever I want to. And then I was a huge Batman fan, and the new movies just solidified how much I liked Batman. I liked because he was basically just a guy, a rich guy, but just a guy. Superman is not human.
No.
Even though he's played by humans, he's not human.
Thank you, Joe, for telling us that he's played by humans and not actual
You mean the actors
Kryptonians.
are
Guys,
humans?
I just took one of these lovely pills here, and I don't know. Maybe I should be operating this podcast right now.
Luke, what are your first memories? Sorry.
Well, I grew up kind of out in the country, so we didn't have cable. We had limited internet.
Batman didn't come to the country.
No, that's not what I was going to say. But so I didn't get to quite watch, I think, as many cartoons and stuff as Joe and Jordan probably did. But what I did get to see was on like WB, Channel 51, which was Fox affiliate. And from what I remember, I don't remember which one came first, but I remember there's two probably main influences that Batman came into my life would be Batman Forever on WB on Saturday mornings, and going to the theater and seeing Batman or Robin with my dad.
Nice.
And me thinking how cool Robin was and how good of a movie that was and how funny Arnold Schwarzenegger was.
I was right there with you, man, dude. There's no shame in
Me
admitting.
too.
And then watching it again the other day at Jordan's house and realizing how mistaken I was, how awful that movie is. I mean, sure, of course, like, nostalgia, but honestly, it's pretty terrible.
It's awful. Like,
If you took nostalgia completely out of it, you would hate that movie.
absolutely.
And if you didn't have the Batman character. Like, those are the two things that make the movie definitely worth buying and watching, just because it's funny and it has Batman. So yeah, I definitely I like Batman. I'm not quite as crazy about it as you guys are, but I would say my favorite character would probably be Wolverine. I'm not sure why.
He's awesome.
It seems like one of those things where, like, as a kid, the littlest things just make a character like something that you connect with for like the rest of your life. Like for me, like my grandfather was a Braves fan, so like, you know, I had Braves memorabilia in the house, and so I just became connected to them. And for some reason, I had a Chicago Bulls jacket, so like I was from now on like I like the Chicago Bulls, like that's
Yeah.
just my team. So I don't know if that's the same way you guys kind of were, but for some reason I remember like having like some kind of Wolverine like figurine or something, and like that was just it. Like Wolverine, he's just my man. After that, I love the claws and I love the attitude and the the giant sideburns. So yeah, happy birthday, Batman.
Jordan,
My
you're
first
going to have a
memories.
lot to say about this, but
I have a lot to say on
what are
this
your
topic in
first
general.
Batman memories?
First Batman memories. It's like with our age, I think it's pretty cool because Batman is right there for our age. Like the superhero, like the whole culture of the superhero movie didn't take off yet. It was kind of just in its conceptual phase. Like I think Superman began it. But when I was growing up, I was 2 years old when the first Batman movie came out, and Batman '89 came out, and so by the time I was old enough to watch that, it was on VHS, and it was around my house, and so I ended up watching. That was my first experience with Batman, the first Batman movie, not counting the Adam West version, but
Which
I
is
loved it.
fantastic.
I was obsessed with the movies. Like when Batman Returns came out, it freaked me out. Like it was kind of scary to me, but in the scary kind of way that allured me. It pulled me in because of how weird and freaky it was. There was something really just, even though Batman was a human, there was something otherworldly about him. Something that kind of you could see how the criminals actually got afraid of him because there was just something otherworldly about how he looked and how he moved, especially in like the old ones because like he couldn't move very well with the encumbering costume that he had to wear. But other than that, my early memories are definitely with the '90s show. That's that version of Batman, just a great one. Video game wise, I actually played the Super Nintendo version of The Adventures of Batman and Robin, which was based on the '90s cartoon, and I was obsessed with it. Like playing it now, I find it actually very frustrating, but back in the day when I had the time and I could have the patience to sit down to a game like that, I thought it was awesome. Like the graphics for back then were really good. The giant sprites, giant character sprites that they used for that game were awesome, and the whole look of it just looked straight out of the show, and the music and everything. So that was really great memory for me. Batman in TV, Ron, I thought we could talk about for a little bit. I think most of us can agree that the '90s cartoon was like a big part of what Batman was for us growing up because that was just like right smack dab at the beginning of like our childhoods where we'd watch Saturday morning cartoons like that.
Right.
And that's a lot of people's like favorite Batman. Like a lot of people will look at a movie and when they see a disappointment, their disappointment probably stems from a shortcoming that they felt like didn't live up to the cartoon, which isn't that's wild to me. That I can't really think of very many animated series that are like that. We got a comment on our Facebook from Doug saying that that's one of that's like his favorite depiction of Batman, the '90s Batman, and I can't really blame him. There's just something about him that Kevin Conroy, the guy who voices him, just has a great voice. I haven't really heard that in a Batman in a long time. It just sounds nothing that the live action people do match it at all, and they don't try. But to me, that voice is Batman. But I haven't seen any of Batman on TV today. I know that he's still yeah, does he have a show currently on television right now? I know they had Beware the Batman, which got canceled.
Yeah.
Which
I
was
don't think he has an active show.
okay. So
Like
that the
I think
latest
that
one
they're
was
I think that they're thinking about relaunching something, but
another one that a lot of people come to mind is Batman Beyond.
yeah.
Did you guys watch that?
I watched that as a kid. I liked it a lot because it was basically just a futuristic portrayal of Batman where he was old and run down and he had this cool sidekick, and I wanted to be Terry McGinnis. I wanted to be him.
Yeah, I misspoke earlier. I said Batman Forever, but I meant Batman Beyond.
Batman
On
Beyond.
Saturday mornings. I mean, that I know which Batman you guys are talking about, but honestly, I didn't even see that much of it. Like I said, I got limited TV time. I played a lot outside shooting BB guns, so I didn't get to see it as
Shooting
much
squirrels.
back then. But yeah, Batman Beyond was probably the most I got to watch.
Which
I thought that was awesome.
It's a good place to start, really. I mean, Batman Beyond was very good. Like, who'd have thunk that like a show like that would be good? Because it's a show about Batman that isn't starring Bruce Wayne. Bruce Wayne plays a big role in it, kind of mentoring Terry McGinnis.
It's a show about Batman that isn't about Batman, really.
Yeah, and it's great. It's really well done. I think the fact that Kevin Conroy reprises his role as Bruce Wayne has a lot to do with it, mentoring Terry McGinnis. It gives that continuity, but just it feels like Batman, even though the setting looks so futuristic and far away.
Yeah, and it even has the guy from Boy Meets World, that Will what's his name, Will Friedle.
Really,
The guy
who
that
does
plays
he play?
he plays the older brother on that show.
Eric?
Yeah.
Wow.
He's the voice of
Terry McGinnis?
Yeah.
Wow, I did not know that.
Yeah, it is pretty. When at the time I was watching Boy Meets World too, so I was like, wow, that's the same voice. It was just
Match
funny.
made in heaven.
Yeah. So yeah, I mean, I basically animated TV is what we kind of grew up consuming. Luke from the Batman Beyond, and
It's
me,
all we
and,
had, really.
Yeah, we didn't. There wasn't much else out there. So, and then we, would rent.
And it was on weekly, so.
Yeah.
Yeah,
We would rent
it's like
the movies.
our weekly dose of Batman.
Yeah.
Right. And then we would
was
rent the
awesome.
movies and stuff until Batman Begins came out, which they kind of took it in a different direction,
I remember how excited I was. I remember I went to a small private school when I was in high school, and me and Jordan, well, actually, it was 8th grade. No, yeah, it was either 8th or 9th grade, and me and Jordan, I remember talking to our friend Patrick, and he said that he had heard this rumor, I guess. I don't even think the internet was around then, but that they were going to make a Batman movie called Batman Begins. And I remember me and Jordan talking about it and freaking out, like, what? They're going to have Scarecrow? Who's Scarecrow? Oh, man, that's good memories.
Yeah, like, because in our teenage years, we didn't have the movies. We were just kind of cooling off after the whole Batman Forever and Batman and Robin stuff going on. We had, like, those early movies were there for our childhoods, and, like, so were, and, like, the Joel Schumacher ones were kind of the death of that whole franchise for a good while. And so, like, after we started growing older, we were wondering, like, when's the next one going to come out? And there were so many rumors of, like, Batman versus Superman. There were rumors, like, even back in then, there were rumors about Batman versus Superman. It never saw the light of day. And, like, rumors of, like, Joel Schumacher doing another one where the Scarecrow was going to be, like, Howard Stern was, like, talking about doing it. But it's like, thankfully, that didn't happen.
Yeah,
And so,
because if
like,
he had, that could have. It was at a crossroads, because the cartoon was done. They weren't making the cartoon anymore, and here we are we're in the 21st century, and it kind of needed to shed the 20th century. You know what I mean? It needed to kind of like turn a new page. And now, what's sad to see is that they can't animated series without. They can't redo what they've done with the animated series.
Yeah, Bruce Timm is the guy who started that, and like he had this one cohesive universe that went from Batman the animated series all the way through Superman the animated series to the Justice League, and that's like an entire universe, and like it's all canon in the same continuity, great. And it was wonderful.
Yeah,
and so that's over, and so they're still trying to find their footing in TV. But
when I don't see it's probably going to be a long time before they do that, if they ever do it, because for whatever reason they can't do it. It's the strangest thing. You know, everybody else can produce sequel after sequel after sequel, but DC can't.
Well, that reminds me. Didn't we see? Isn't there a show? What is that? CW or something? Gotham.
That's
Yes.
Fox.
Fox.
Yeah,
Fox
but
is
again,
doing
it's
Gotham.
it's not. It's they're doing it kind of on their own. From what I've heard, it's kind of like a. Right now, it's starting as a singular project, and it's telling the story of Gordon.
But it
Jim
does
Gordon.
look interesting. You got to
Oh
admit
yeah,
that.
it does look interesting, but it's
And it looks like they're putting a lot of effort into it.
yes, but it's basically Jim Gordon versus all. They're introducing villains, and Jim Gordon's going to be the main character, and then he's going to, I guess, raise Bruce Wayne. You know, I mean, there's a bunch of like Bruce Wayne tie-ins, but you know, it's one of those things where I'm going to definitely give it the old season try, and it might surprise me, but you know, it'll be difficult.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, it's a Batman show without Batman, but not only without Batman, without a actual Bruce Wayne. I mean, yeah, we said Bruce Wayne was in Batman Beyond, but that was a seasoned, like an old Batman, and now this is just a kid Bruce
kid.
Wayne. There's Batman is separated
It's like
from this
it's
world.
a prequel. I mean,
Yeah.
Yeah,
I don't
Which
see
it could-
anything wrong with what they're doing. I mean,
No.
I'm pretty excited about it.
Oh no, nothing
I
wrong
like
at all.
dramas that center around superheroes, no matter what twist they put on it. I mean, it could be awful, sure, but
Mm-hmm.
all these things that we're talking about could be awful.
It's got a 50-50 shot at
I'm
being
excited.
awful. 50-50.
Yeah. What they have to do is convince us that Jim Gordon is a character, like he's a great character. Jim Gordon's a great character, but let's see him done well in this new show, and I think that can actually be awesome. That can be, something
Like-
great. If,
Like Oldman did a
him
good
well.
job
oh, he was wonderful.
as Jim Gordon.
Definitely.
All right. Quickly about Batman games. I mean, obviously now, like, Batman the Arkham series is like top of superhero gaming right now. Like everyone anticipates the next Arkham game, and the Arkham games that have come before it are sacred cows in the gaming world. I think. I mean, like they're wonderful games, and who'd have thunk? Like there are barely any good superhero games, and Batman came along, and Rocksteady Games made a killer franchise with Batman, Arkham City, and
Oh, well, Arkham Asylum.
Arkham
and then
Asylum
Arkham
first, and Arkham
yeah.
City. And Arkham Origins wasn't made by Rocksteady, but apparently, even though it's not as good, it's still good. And the next one coming out, it looks incredible. Arkham Knight.
I hope it sets a precedent for game studios to see, okay, let's stop just seeing what the next movie that comes out and just making a movie game. Let's stop doing that, and let's take these heroes that do so well on the big screen, and let's take our time and create good games around them. And even like for me, like you make Arkham Asylum, and I'm sure it took a lot of work and a lot of writing to like create a good game. I mean, it takes some effort, You whip together a game and it usually ends up being bad. But if you can create that first game, I think the next game's easier. And
I
then the
agree.
third game's easier. And you're making good games, but it doesn't take as long after you've made that first good game. Like Halo. It took a lot of work to bring that idea together and create Halo. But then Halo 2, I'm sure that wasn't nearly as hard. And it was still, like people say, that could even be a better game than Halo. And you already have that idea. And so, like, I hope somebody does that same thing like that they've done with Arkham. I hope they do that with more heroes, and maybe even like another whole series with Batman. Maybe some other twist like Batman Beyond did. Maybe some other twist like that for a Batman series. Maybe like an adventure game that's starring Batman, and maybe it's Bruce Wayne without the cape, or I don't know, like something like that. Like I hope Arkham has kind of set the precedent for that. Like, stop making these stupid Superman games and these stupid Spider-Man games. Nothing wrong with those characters, but these games are so stupid.
There's never been a good Superman game. There's been maybe one or two good Spider-Man games.
But
no,
but
good
not
Superman
not
games.
great games.
Yeah.
I mean, they were decent.
I think that what the don't make a movie game is like that's what they need to be sold on, because for instance, here's an example of it. Marvel superheroes, nothing to do with the Avengers game. Absolutely nothing. It was
With the
all its
Avengers
own
movie, you mean?
story. Yeah, the Avengers movie. Sorry. Another one that comes to mind off the top of my head is Star Wars Battlefronts. I know we have a new one coming out, and the old one,
Yeah, that's a good
it
example.
might have had like some, maybe like a glimpse into like some of the worlds created by the movies, but it was its own unique game. It had nothing
And
to do with like the movies, and
it
people,
was an original idea. Like I was saying, it
yeah,
was an original, excellent idea. Like sure, it took parts off of like I don't know, other big hack and slash games. What is it, Dynasty Warriors? Like it took notes from those games, but it's still like it had the universe of Star Wars. It did it in a good way. You know, it created those characters correctly, and yeah,
yeah,
good. I mean, good point. I completely agree, Joe.
yeah. Well, yeah, but it's just I just had to agree with you. I mean, that's puts it the game's perspective into it. Like it ties it up what you said there because what they did in the past with their games was they tried to make it a movie game, and it failed. And then when they
Yeah.
brought out the new version, it's like it's like the 21st century. They turned on a light bulb and they were like, "Oh, let's do this." You know,
It's such a waste of money too.
yeah,
Like, why even create those games? They're awful.
Now these days it takes like in the age of HD in the next generation of consoles, it takes too long to make games for movies now because what they do is these movies come out and the studio mandates that the game must come out at a certain time, must come out before, and the game gets
It's stupid.
rushed.
It's stupid.
And all the quality, all the creativity goes out the window because the studio wants extra bucks on the franchise, and so that will just all makes for a poor game. So I'm glad that Batman got a good treatment in video games, and I can't wait for the next one.
yeah.
I think
Well,
that's
and
why
how-
certain studios just aren't creating good games because they get forced into those kind of deals. It takes games like or studios like Naughty Dog, takes studios like Square Enix, Ubisoft. It takes studios like that who are or Rockstar. There's a great example of studios who are dedicated. They say we're going to spend 5 years on this game. We don't care if it costs us extra money. We don't care if we go into debt. We don't care if we have to hire 1,000 new employees. We're going to get this done, and we have this vision, and we're going to stick by it. It takes studios like that, and that's what they need. I think they could make a killing off of feeding off the Marvel craze, off feeding off the Batman craze, and God knows with all the DC stuff they're talking about in the next 10 years or so, like they could make a killing. These studios could literally make their entire living off just feeding off those, but not making movie games, making original content that branches off of those stories or those characters. I mean, that's just a killer market right there.
Yeah.
Like I know, Luke, you haven't had a chance to play it, but again, it's fresh on my mind. If they made Jordan, like a live action, quote unquote, video game based on the Marvel concept in Lego superheroes, are you kidding me? How much money you would probably drop? I mean, you would spend $100 on it if it was like that.
I did play the demo.
Okay, well, like the sheer size that they could do, you're just talking about not Lego versions of the characters, like actual, like, real CGI'd characters or whatever you want to call them, real
Yeah,
live action. If they did something like that, how pumped would you be for that game? I mean,
that would be a huge game. That would be
Yeah.
humongous.
If they took their time, they took their years to make it. Yeah,
which they
I
would
agree.
have to do because
You
got
gotta
to
do it right.
But
you got to make those environments really good. Those characters have to fly correctly. It needs to be not riddled with glitches like what was that Superman movie that came out like 5 years ago or 6 years ago?
Superman
for
Returns.
PS2, I think.
That game was bad.
I remember being really excited about that game. I was like, "Oh man, awesome Superman game!"
It was
I
a
don't know,
nightmare.
who was I fooling?
Yeah.
I bought it. I was flying around
It's
so many
tough.
times. I got stuck in the sky somewhere.
hey,
Oh,
flying is tough.
Yeah, it's a
in
really
game,
tough thing to
open
pull off
world,
in a game.
Yeah.
yeah.
It really is. You guys want to move on to Batman movies? I have a lot. We have a lot to talk about.
Really?
Yeah, I mean, I have a lot to talk about. I mean, I've spent a lot of time with the Batman movies over the past few months because my girlfriend Amber, she hasn't seen any of them, and so I was like, all right, this is a great excuse to actually watch these movies again, and, like see them in order, just in a short amount of time, and and see how they hold up in my mind. And we've kind of touched on the original ones and how they're really good nostalgic, and I think they're actually still hold up to be decently good movies. The first and second one, they're definitely like the way people say Batman Begins and Dark Knight came along to remake Batman and make him serious. Batman 89 did that. It did that too, because before then, like, Batman was silly. Like, Batman was
Kung
Adam
Pao.
West.
Biff.
Yeah, pow, na 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 na
Wham.
na na na. Like, he was completely silly, and like they took it in a hugely dark direction, which no one expected. It was like darker than anyone has ever seen a superhero, and it paved the way for what would come later. And well, actually, unfortunately, that paved road had to be destroyed a little bit by Joel Schumacher and the studio mandates that caused Batman Forever and Batman and Robin. Quickly, actually, like, I think Batman Forever actually does have a lot of good points. Like, it's horribly flawed in a lot of ways, but it does a lot of things well. I actually think the Robin story, the way it was told, was actually very well done. I think it's hidden within the crappy parts of the movie, but I think that's actually a pretty well done part of the movie. They get that part well done, I think.
I like the Jim Carrey Riddler. I know no one else does, but
You mean Jim Carrey?
yeah. Uh,
He's pretty much just Ace Ventura trying to kill Batman.
Yeah, which was fun. I like Ace
Yeah,
Ventura.
it was fun.
I liked the actors. I liked the funniness, but
Yeah, it's
if you take those actors out and you take Batman out of it, man, I know I'm being negative, but
no.
Negative
there's a
Nancy,
lot to be
Debbie
negative
Downer.
about.
Wah, wah, wah.
I just can't help but just laugh at those movies.
My girlfriend's very tolerant when it comes to movies, but that opening scene where Chase Meridian, aka Nicole Kidman's talking to Batman, and like the innuendos and the saucy talk they make to each other is embarrassing. She was just like groaning, like, "Oh, this is awful," and I've never seen her react to a movie like that.
That's funny.
And of course, Batman and Robin, we've discussed, and it's been discussed, and it's been run through the ground throughout the decades of how awful it is. We all know it's awful, but as kids, we liked it.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Well, of course.
Yeah,
It was
we
Batman.
liked it. It was Batman, and it was the craziest one. It had the most insane moments, and for a kid, that stimulation was just like, oh my gosh.
Yeah.
If it's something that you're passionate about, it almost doesn't matter the quality of it. It's like, well, that's what I have, so I like it.
Yeah,
Yeah.
as a kid, if you expect to like a movie, you will. It's only when you get older, you have your critical thinking kick in. But all right, so moving on. This is like the big one, the Christopher Nolan movies. Watching them recently has been awesome. I was like just really happy to watch these movies again. It's been like a few years since I've seen them all, especially like Batman Begins and Dark Knight. It's been since before a couple of years ago seeing those. All right, let's get this out of the way. I can see it like it was yesterday. A few years ago, me and Luke and Joe and Andrew were going at it because I said that The Dark Knight was overrated. And that I
Words
didn't
you'll regret forever.
and that I didn't think that it was the best Batman movie, and
I think you
Or the best superhero
I don't think you're
movie.
remembering
Or the
it
best superhero
correctly
movie.
because I think you misspoke because you said that you did not like it.
no, I never said that. I can definitely say I've never said that. I've always said, yeah.
Well, you
that I liked
basically
it.
did. You basically did. We're going to call it that because that's basically what you just revealed.
No.
So continue.
Let me think of the points that I made back in the day. Like, these are the problems that I had. Whether or not I still have some of these problems is yet to be determined.
Uh-oh.
But my problems that I was going on and on about was I didn't like how they did Harvey Dent. I thought that his transformation into Two-Face felt rushed, and I felt that it was undeserved at the time. And at the time, I just felt that the story was too convoluted and too busy. And at the time, I just thought it was just so not fun. Watching it now recently, and like I've turned around on a lot of these points.
He doesn't hate it anymore,
I've
everyone.
never hate. I thought it was merely great. But now I will concede, I do believe that it is the best Batman movie that has been made. I think that
You really didn't like Heath Ledger's part. That was really the part.
no
Right? He just didn't do a good job.
I think I always thought Heath Ledger was brilliant in that role and amazing, and I definitely still do today. But like looking at the Nolan movies is interesting for me because they're almost like, I think they're like three different portrayals in some way of Batman. Like thinking about it, in Batman Begins, Batman's almost like a ninja. He's like training, you have that whole ninja vibe in the beginning, but he acts like a ninja. They film him like a ninja.
Mm-hmm.
Dark Knight, he's I think he's the most realistic take in Dark Knight. He's almost like, he's like tactical. He's like SWAT.
Well, yeah, but he's a brawler though too.
He's a brawler, yeah, definitely. But there's something very tactical and very down to earth and about him. He's the most detective that he's ever been in any Batman movie, which I feel like is something that's missing from all the movies because he's supposed to be like one of the greatest detective minds.
Yeah, that's what Ra's al Ghul calls him, like throughout all of the animated series. But continue.
And Dark Knight Rises is the most superhero Batman was like in all the Nolan movies. And why I think that Dark Knight's the best one out of the three, because before this conversation and before like I watched this last time, I believed that Batman Begins was the best one. That was my opinion, because here's the thing with Batman Begins. That opening, that first like hour is incredible. It is solid. It's some of the best storytelling I've seen in a Batman movie. It's the best origin of him I've ever seen. It's so solid. The ideas they want to come across are just incredible. Just the themes are clear but not too intrusive, and it's perfect. And then by the time that Batman shows up and says the "I'm Batman" moment, and he puts Falcone on the bat signal, that's when that's the marker for me where the movie starts to fall to pieces, where things just aren't nearly living up to how they were in the first bit of the movie.
I agree completely. Sorry, Joe.
Oh, go ahead.
I agree completely. I think for me, I definitely don't agree with you that well, I guess you changed your mind, but I never agreed that was the best one. I guess there was just something about like the last, like you said, like probably from like Scarecrow on, it started to feel so studio to me, like especially the part where like he jumps over onto the like island, projects,
the Narrows,
yeah, and the gas is all going up. Spoiler alert.
Yeah, spoiler alert for all these
I know.
movies.
I'm gonna always say spoiler alert after I say it. Just so
we'll intro the podcast.
Close your ears before
we'll intro the podcast with it.
But it just felt like, I'm sure it had to be filmed in a studio, and that's what you didn't feel in the beginning hour, at least.
It felt
was
like Chicago. It felt like
big
city.
world. Well, the city parts, and then when he was going out with Ra's al Ghul and in the prison and climbing the mountain, like that was just awesome. And then him doing the training, yeah, I agree with you. It was definitely the best intro to Batman. It was incredible. But man, I was kind of scarred by that part. I remember even being in the theater going, "Wow, doesn't this feel like a studio? Like I feel like that's backlit. Like what's going on?" Like there's nothing that annoys me more than when a movie feels like it's in a studio. It feels like it's in a room being shot.
I agree.
Especially when it's supposed to be a big world.
Yeah.
If it's just in a room, like a sitcom, some drama, that's fine. But not a superhero movie. A superhero movie should almost never be shot in studio unless it has to be for CG purposes.
Yeah. Joe, do you have any thoughts on that?
This is how it goes for me. The Dark Knight Rises is number 2. The Dark Knight's number 1, and Batman Begins is number 3. But I agree with you pretty much on everything you said. They each it was a trilogy. What's weird about what Nolan did was it was a trilogy, but they were standalone movies too. Like, yes, does it help to know the backstory? Always. Yes. Does it help to like be invested in the characters? Yes, always. But you didn't. You could go to any of those movies, and now we didn't do that, right? But you could have gone to it and had enough in the movie to watch it and go, "This was a cool movie." Um,
Yeah, absolutely.
I think uh, I do hear what you're saying about the. I kind of agree with you how the end of that, where they were filming in the where the what is it Arkham
The
was.
Narrows.
Yeah, the Narrows. They were having the but there's no they didn't want to, I guess, spend money. Maybe they'd spend all their money on all the other sets or traveling to film other places. I don't know about that. I know that the next two they were much bigger because of I know that
Oh yeah.
the third one was IMAX shot and it had some pretty incredible scenes in it. I don't. I need to rewatch Batman Begins. The other night. I only watched the beginning part, so I need to rewatch that so I can kind of rethink about it. Because the thing about me is, I liked all three of them a lot, and I didn't really have much negative to say. Everything that I've had negative about them, the second time I watched the movie, it's kind of like gone away. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I mean, for me,
Anne Hathaway
sorry.
has a really crappy part in the middle of like the third one, but who gives a rip? She and that girl, they have like this. You said the storm was coming. You knew this was coming. I'm like,
Oh, that was a
really,
bad line.
really?
Storm's coming, remember? This is what
You're
you
gonna
wanted.
you're gonna edit out a bunch of crap, but you're gonna leave that in there. I mean, give me a break. Um,
The thing about, like, in Batman Begins, like, a big, huge problem I had from the very beginning isn't, like, isn't just the way that the Narrows are filmed in that climax. The fighting, the action scenes are probably some of the worst I've ever seen in my entire life. They are filmed horribly. Like, okay, when Batman first makes his appearance and he's swooping in and taking out the guys who are distributing the drugs, that's a good scene, even though you don't really get to see it because that's the first scene with him in it. You're seeing that fight from the thug's point of view. And
yeah,
so it's supposed to seem really like mysterious and like what's going on, and you're not supposed to see it coming. And so that works. But by the time that's over and you're in the Narrows and Batman says to Ra's al Ghul, "I can take two of your thugs," and Ra's al Ghul says, "Very well," and two more drop down. You're you're like rubbing your hands together in anticipation. You're like, all right, here we go. Let's do this. And then what happens next? You can't see anything. You think Batman versus four ninjas on paper sounds like the coolest thing of all time, but the execution was awful because you don't see it. And then the same's true for the fight with him and Ra's al Ghul on the train. It's just, that's the thing. Like, if that whole thing, because Batman isn't just story. Like, action movies aren't just story. You have to have the action filmed well, and that's a huge knock on this movie if the action's filmed so poorly. Like, on paper, if everything was executed well, on paper this movie would probably be almost flawless in my eyes.
yeah.
But just because the execution was done so
Well,
poorly in that last bit, it just
I would
tainted
take
it
it
for
a
me.
step further though. I don't know. I think Christopher Nolan was trying to figure out what he was doing in the first one. I'll be bold
That's
enough to
probably true.
say that he hasn't really. If you look at what he's filmed, it's not like he's filmed an action movie, really. I mean, what
No, he's
Memento
not an
was an
action
action
director.
movie, or Inception? No, I mean Inception was after that, anyways. Um, so I think that part of it was him trying to figure out what he was doing because the action does get better. Like the fight scenes are way better in the second and third one. So he might have actually filmed it, watched it, and said, "Gosh, Chris, you did a horrid job with these action scenes. What were you even thinking when you had the camera in your hand? Were you even paying attention? Were you watching a movie on your iPhone while you were filming this movie? I mean, that stuff was probably going through his head. That's why I forgot about it after the Dark Knight and Batman, or and the Dark Knight Rises happened. You know what I mean? Like when those two movies
Yeah.
happened, I kind of forgot some of the amateur hour that Batman Begins was, and then just kind of like
The
enjoyed
last half,
Batman
in the
Begins.
last half, let's
Yeah,
be clear.
yeah.
Because that first half was, I
Well,
think,
Yeah,
spectacular.
even the fighting scene in the prison.
Yeah, and then
That
on
was a
the
good
ice,
fighting scene.
and on the ice with Ra's al
Yeah,
Ghul, the
yeah.
sword fight, that was cool.
Yeah.
But yeah,
You know what's
So-
interesting? You've now come to our side with the Dark Knight, and now you hate Batman Begins. So
I don't hate Batman Begins. I don't. I just really resist that
kidding,
You
ending.
Jordan.
hate
I'm
50% of Batman Begins.
I resist it. Like, on, as I again, on paper as a story, It works wonderfully, but just the visual execution is just so poor.
Yeah.
But like,
And let's be honest, I think Scarecrow is the weakest villain
I
of the
agree.
series.
he was just so taken out. It's like such a punk.
Well,
It was so
he
cool
was
seeing him on
paired-
the
he was
horse where
paired
he's
with-
like, "There's nothing to fear but fear itself," and then he gets
Yeah.
taken out by a taser. I'm like, "Oh my gosh!"
Yeah, well, there's-
please, I love Scarecrow.
But it was deception. Nolan was trying to get you to think, okay, he's the villain. Oh wait, he's just a pawn.
A
that
decent
was-
twist, if
Yeah, he was trying to get a
Hold on,
twist. I know
hold
that
on.
you guys are experienced. You guys didn't
Spoiler
fall for
alert.
it, but a lot of other people fell for it. So,
right.
but
So
now that we've talked about what Nolan's where he's brought it to, now we're at a turning point. I mean, what do you guys think the future
wait,
holds
one
for
second.
Batman?
I need to express a few things about Dark Knight real quick. Sorry.
Oh dear.
I know we're running really long here, but Batman, it's huge. Okay, watching it now, the reasons why I turned around on Harvey Dent and his transformation, it rang true for me this time. Like before, I thought it was rushed. I didn't see how such a great man can turn into such a monster like he was so quickly. Kind of like an Anakin. I saw it kind of like how I saw Anakin Skywalker in Episode 3, where he's like, just trying to do the right thing. Then, all right, time to kill a bunch of kids.
Massacre.
But this time I saw something different. I saw the weight of everything that he believed in and everything that he was trying to do weighing down upon him, upon an unsturdy foundation. And that time, that at the moment where Rachel dies, it just breaks completely, and so does he. And so everything that he believed in, when his whole lot in life, when flipping the coin, it being two sides, how he makes his own luck, and he believes in choice and making his own destiny, changed to now he only believes in chance. And so I completely turned around on that. I think it's actually wonderful, and that was a huge thing against me. One serious thing I actually do have still wrong with that movie is Rachel Dawes in Dark Knight. I think it's a complete betrayal of like what came before it. Like, people say that Maggie Gyllenhaal is better than Katie Holmes. I think
Who says that?
some people say that. I've heard people say, "Oh, Katie
They
Holmes."
were the same
Because,
character
can't
for the
believe
same
that.
amount of time. So stupid.
Like, I feel
I've
like
never liked Maggie though, so I guess I'm kind of
yeah.
prejudiced. But I really didn't like her in that. I agree with you there. I think she was the worst character in the entire Dark Knight, Batman Begins series.
And she was unsympathetic was the thing. I think like
Tom
during that
Cruise
whole
wouldn't let
movie-
Katie Holmes do it. We got to blame him now.
That's angering. I feel like in that whole movie, the whole the crux of their relationship is she's in love with Harvey and she doesn't feel like she could be with Bruce. But she doesn't handle this like someone who like the old Rachel Dawes would. Katie Holmes' portrayal of her. She Maggie Gyllenhaal's portrayal feels like annoyed by this. Like, this is just something that she has to deal with. She doesn't feel deeply saddened. She doesn't feel responsible for the things she said earlier. Heck, she even gives him a letter and not even willing to tell him these important things in person. She feels more like, oh, like this Bruce Wayne thing is something that she needs to put up with before she can start her life with Harvey.
Well,
Well, she
wouldn't
had to give a
blame
letter
that
because
part
she
on
was gonna
Maggie. I mean,
die.
that's writing.
Yeah, that's not Maggie Gyllenhaal's fault. It's the character's fault. It's character writing. That's my problem. Like, I feel like in the other movie, like the Rachel Dawes that I knew would be like just torn apart by this. Like, Bruce meant so much to her. I feel like
But Jordan, if she hadn't
I
given the
didn't see
letter,
it on-
she would have died and never told him anything. So
well,
there's
yeah,
that.
but she didn't know she was gonna die. She didn't. Her character didn't read the script.
well, the writers knew that she was going to die, so they had to write it that way.
yeah.
Personally, I just didn't see it on Maggie's face. I just didn't feel like she cared for Bruce like she did in the first movie. I don't know. I just didn't buy it. I don't like her acting. She didn't sell it for me.
Yeah. But other than that, I feel like this is the most complete, well done, brilliant version of Batman, with how it gets across its themes and how it tells its story. Even though at the time I felt like it was very poorly paced with so much going on, I was just like maybe just kind of burdened by all the law and all the crime drama stuff that kind of goes on, which isn't my genre. But after watching it so many times, I've kind of just really embraced it, and kind of see what they're. You keep dropping your phone.
My pen.
All right, Joe. So you just saw Dark Knight Rises,
Yeah,
and still, so it's the second one. You say, huh?
yeah. I mean, it's second barely. I mean, I really like that movie. I love the
Mm-hmm.
character of Bane as the villain. I love that Batman is old, and it shows
He looks
his
like a crack dealer in the opening.
yeah. Well,
He looks awful.
it's like his humanity though. You see that he is a man, and then I mean, the Jim Gordon, like his character growth from the first, like just the character growth from all the characters that stayed with it, which there's only a few of them, and then the few ones they added in, sprinkled in there. I just think it had everything that you wanted in a movie. It had action, it had suspense, it had love.
Let me stir the pot a little bit for you, Joe.
Do it.
I love that movie. Don't get me wrong. I really enjoy that movie. I think it's well done in many, many ways. But I think my biggest issue with it is just how they portray Batman in the beginning of the movie to how they portray him at the end. It's just to me he's so weak. Like he's so broken down. He's so untrained. He's so out of it. Like it wasn't that long since The
Well,
Dark Knight. I mean, it seemed like it was like
well,
20
was
years.
it though? How many years was it?
I thought it was supposed to be like 5 years or something.
Well, even if it was
was
5
7
years,
years.
you're talking about a guy that went from being active to not only hurting himself when he fell, he hurt himself. He never healed properly, and he basically did nothing. He became inactive. You can become without activity, the body just
I
breaks
can buy
down.
that, but what I'm saying is he became someone who did so much more by the end. If he was really
Right.
that in that bad of shape, how was he able to make that recovery? And I
Because
get like
the
obviously I know the selling point is like his spirit and he's more than just a man, but to me it was a little I just thought they went too extreme on that broken down old man picture.
Yeah. Well, I agree with you a little bit, but there's also movies sometimes can't they can't show you the time that the movie what you watch the movie, but they can't always go, oh, well, a day passed here or a week passed here. If you recall, when the bomb was put on that, it was a 5 month thing, right? The timer, it was going to go off no matter what in 5 months. Remember that? That's what they said.
Yeah.
I just watched it,
Yeah.
but so he was in the prison for 5 months. A lot can happen in 5 months, healing wise. If you, now again, like that's
It is
probably
a
the
broken
hardest.
back. Spoiler alert.
Yeah, a vertebrae out
It
of
is a
place.
broken back. I'm not sure
Yes.
5 months is enough to heal a broken
Well,
back, but
before you cut me off, I was about to say I don't know the severity of his broken back, but we'll just say for Batman's purposes, he was in good shape when he broke his back. So, technically speaking, I don't see that big of a deal from him at the beginning to him at the end. Physical stamina, all that, and also they make a big deal about it during the movie, but he wasn't afraid to die, and that's what kept him back. He had that fear of like he was ready to die because he had nothing to live for. Well, once he got that fear in him, quote unquote, and it was for like he needed to save the people of Gotham. It kind of changed him, and he was reborn, one could say. But I hear you complain. When the first time I saw it, I was like, man, so all you have to do when you break your back is have someone tie you up in a prison cell and then beat you in the back, and then
Your
You'll
spine is
be-
protruding from your skin.
yes,
You must be by force.
But
I think
here's
the
the thing
broken
though,
back
like,
severity would be high.
Stay like
Yeah.
this until you can stand.
well, you saw what he did. He started working out immediately after that, and then he was climbing. So he was, again, activity. It does a lot for your bones, and we don't know how long it took him to get out of there. We don't know how long it was before he came back to Gotham. I mean, maybe he went to like a special spa that he had in some other country and did like some machines and
I
like
guess
worked
I'm a
out
little
some.
too critical sometimes. I hate it when movies take a little bit too many liberties.
Oh, Luke, I
with
think
the things that they say.
I don't think you're being too critical on this one, like, because this is one thing for me that this movie does have major logical leaps, like, and because unlike this is very different. This one's very different from the other two for me because I feel like more than all of those, I feel like this one relies on emotion more than anything. Like I think even behind the pen writing, there was a lot of emotion put there, a lot of emotional stakes for the characters, but and I think that blinded them, and they kind of had some logical leaps there, like a few things, like how we got back to Gotham in the short amount of time with zero resources and a heavily guarded city from across the world. That's a problem. Like I always joke around and say, well, Shazam flew him back, obviously, but that's a problem. And
Well,
like,
but it's not a problem in my book because he is the Batman. Like one of the things about Batman
I'm
is that
Batman.
he shows up and does. He did the cartoons. That's what I loved about him. He would just appear. He would just be there, and that's the part of that ninja training. I don't.
which
I don't
I
think
feel
that's
like
like a huge hole.
Ninja training.
I feel like it's a problem within the movie that the universe that they've set up. If that was Kevin Conroy's the animated Batman Superman doing that, he would do it, and I'd believe it just because the universe that that Batman exists in. But in the Nolan universe, that something like that is kind of glaring.
Because they show him on airplanes and they show him walking.
Yeah, they go out of their way to show the realism and the why and the how in these movies, and so that's something
But
like
again,
that
you
is
can
a
only make a
problem.
3-hour movie so many times. You know.
Yeah, it's 2.5.
No, we're not saying that we make it longer, Joe. We're just saying like make things so that they are believable. Change the circumstances, maybe just tweak it a little bit. Because overall, it's an excellent movie. We're just nitpicking right now.
Yeah, and like that this movie,
Well, we have to have
Going to the
devil's
theater-
advocate. So
yeah. Going to the theater, this is my second favorite, by the way. This is behind Dark Knight. I like this better than Batman Begins. But, like, my theater experience seeing this movie was one of the best theater experiences I've had. Like, I say this is an emotional movie that played so well in the theater. Like, I've never in my life have I been to a movie like this, and there were people constantly at the big parts cheering and reacting, and it wasn't annoying to me. Like when he was climbing the up the hole, and they were chanting, and like Mark Theater, yeah, like when the bats flew when he made that jump, our theater cheered. They were
Yeah.
floored. You were there, weren't you, Joe?
Yeah.
You were there. That movie going experience was incredible, and like I was right there with him. And like when they revealed him sitting there at the cafe at the end, eruption of applause. It was great. Like it was just an
when
awesome
when
send-off
Bane
for
broke
me.
his back, there was cheering.
I did not like that one. I'm like,
Just a
I hated that they
huge
cheered on
applause.
that. Yeah, our theater applauded when Brain
Yes.
or a body, and like our theater applauded. I hated that. I'm like, did they
Which that
applauded? Of
scene
course,
to
just
this day, that scene is one of my favorite scenes in that movie, though.
it's awesome.
Because
that
it's
fight
pretty
scene
cool.
was incredible. It's so tense. That's one of the best parts of the movie for me. I was like on the edge of my seat in the theater, and like they applauded, of course, because that's what happens in the comics. Yay!
They're more nerdy than me.
All right, so I'm probably actually gonna split this off apart from the main podcast just because we're running really long. But you know, it's Batman. This is gonna just be we'll call this the 75th anniversary
Bat
special.
cast.
The Batcast. Why not?
I'm fatiguing.
Real
Yeah.
quick, we won't discuss it. Let's do it. What's your favorite thing Batman's in? Jordan, go.
Batman Under the Red Hood, the animated movie.
Other than the Nolan movies, I'm going to just exclude them. Arkham City. I love that game.
Okay. By the way, I'm not excluding the movies. That's my favorite thing he's in. I think it's incredible.
Really?
See it if you haven't.
I don't know if I've
I
seen
guess I
Under
just
the
like
Red Hood.
interactive experiences, so.
Yeah.
And I haven't seen that.
Arkham City. Did you say Arkham City or Arkham Asylum?
Arkham City.
Oh, such a good game.
I haven't played it.
I'm going to say Sub-Zero. I really liked that.
Really?
Yeah, I really liked that movie.
Okay, cool.
It was one of my favorites. Because I kind of like Freeze. Like, I like Freeze because he was Mr. Freeze because he was like he's kind of like a bad guy, but he wasn't really a bad guy. He just was trying to save his wife, and I like that. You know?
You know, that started in the animated series.
Yeah.
They created that story. That wasn't originally in the comic book. This whole thing with Nora Freeze and him trying to save her in her frozen stasis and like cure her disease. That was original from the animated series. I mean,
Well,
sure, Mr.
they
Freeze,
did a
but
great
he was
job in the animated
yeah,
series.
that's incredible. They've adapted that in the comic books. They took that and they're like, all right, well that's canon now, and that's so cool.
That is cool.
What do you hope to see for Batman in the future, Jordan?
Well, there's one. I don't see this happening anywhere down the line, but like the reason why Under the Red Hood is one of my favorite things is because I've always been. It's not a very popular opinion, but I've always liked the Bat family, the whole Batman and Robin, and like all the different Robins and Batgirl, their relationship. I love that. I think it's really cool, and it shows the wisdom of Batman. It shows the character of Batman because he has to train up these people, and he has to tell them, and he has to show them how to be like Batman. And I really hope they would do that sometime in the future. I don't see that ever happening anytime soon, but who knows? With all these different characters they're shoving in, we might see a Dick Grayson. Since this is going to be an old Batman, reportedly, this is going to be an older Batman. We might see a Nightwing. Like, even though that's not what I'm talking about, that's the product of Bruce's training. Maybe we might see that, and I really do hope though, because that's one of my. Well, it's something I really hope to see. I hope to see that in live action. Like, I've seen it in the animation, but I'd like to actually see it on the big screen. So
That could make an excellent game franchise.
yeah,
I'm serious.
good.
Joe, what do you hope to see for Batman in the future?
DC, Batman, Warner Brothers, don't screw it up. Don't do what you did in the 90s. Learn from your mistake. Late 90s with live action. Don't learn from your mistakes. I would love to see a live Batman show. I know that AMC rumored at one point to do a show, and you know what? Like a 2-season, maybe 6 to 10 episodes per season. That could be really cool. It would maybe give us another little look into the character of Batman, as long as it's synced up with whatever else is going on. But I just don't see that happening. So I kind of I keep those dreams and aspirations at bay. But that's kind of like what I would see. I guess if I was really I would love to see a Batman Beyond movie. That'd be probably it.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it'd be cool.
Yeah.
All right. Well, happy 75th
didn't
birthday.
get
Oh,
this
sorry.
thing.
Oh, sorry. I'm
Yeah,
sorry,
Jordan.
Luke.
Jeez.
I'm so sorry.
I agree. I think you guys have good ideas. I like the Batman Beyond movie. I like the Bat Family idea. I would like to see some more original game franchises based around Batman and characters in the Batman universe. I think it's excellent franchise to build video games off of. I think I don't know the studio that makes the Arkham games,
Rocksteady.
but they've proven that. I'd like to see something maybe a little more original, something different than just what Arkham Asylum, Arkham City, and now Arkham Origins is going to do. Yeah, maybe something with like the big enemies in it, like the big villains. So yeah, something like that. Maybe a big studio like Square Enix or
That would be great.
yeah,
A Japanese
Rockstar.
creator. That'd be crazy.
somebody who really cares and makes an excellent game. But yeah, I'm always down for a good game starring our favorite characters.
Yeah, for sure. All right. Well, I guess that about wraps us up. Happy 75th anniversary, Batman.
Thanks.
Can't wait for the future.
Thanks for staying with us, guys. Sorry it ran so late.
Yeah.
Yeah. Have a good
Well,
one.
Thank you, Joe.
Have a good one, guys. See you later.